Is Wall Street asleep on Microsoft's meteoric rise as tech's next $5 trillion giant? Dan Ives reveals how cloud acceleration and underestimated demand could launch Microsoft to the very top of the market, so watch until the end to learn which surprise partnerships may give Apple a sudden edge in the AI arms race.
Continues to be when I look at Azure and where they are in AI. I mean, that's why I believe Microsoft, is trending toward a $5 trillion market cap. But that's the one to me this quarter that sticks out front and center. And look, and that's bullish for just use cases, what we're seeing across the board as Nadella is sort of leading the charge.
$5 trillion market cap. So I'm actually kind of surprised that of all the names that are out there, Microsoft is the one that you've chosen. Sure, the stock's performed quite well, but it hasn't performed the best of the group. Why?
I think Street is underestimating what this demand looks like. I mean, hey, look, I could say, 6 months ago it was Alphabet, right? And that sort of, I think, caught up a bit, even though we continue to be very bullish on that. But I think it really just comes down to, what we're seeing in the field from all the partners, from these cloud accelerations. Street is underestimating the hyperscaler demand, and that goes for Google, that goes for Amazon, goes for Microsoft. And I think that, when I look at next year, I think ultimately underestimating numbers across the board for tech by 15-20% and underestimating CapEx by probably 30%. That is why we feel it's a get the popcorn out moment for tech stocks.
But you don't feel like you're overestimating anything. And I know you talk about these, the popcorn moment. I think some people fear that people are eating too much cotton candy, right?
Yeah,
this big sugar high. You heard more of that. It was Ken Griffin talk about a sugar high this week. Do you, as an analyst, do you think you're going to be able to identify when things look like they actually have gone too far?
Yeah, look, that's my job, right? I mean, that's why, I travel around the world talking to customers, talking to more customers later today. It's trying to understand what the demand curve looks like, what the use cases look like. Even on software, names like MongoDB, Snowflake, of course, Massive AI, Palantir, and others. But that's what we're focused on. And as we continue to still see it accelerate and the demand plays out, to me, that's why we stay pound the table sort of bullish going into year end. We've talked about NASDAQ 24 to 25,000, and that continues to sort of be our view. Still 2 to 3 years left in this tech bull market where we are in this AI cycle.
And you don't look at any of these circular deals, so to speak, and raise an eyebrow in any way, wondering whether it all really is going to lead to the promised land?
Look, it's a great question. I get some of the concerns out there, especially some of us like myself that covered tech stocks back in the 90s. The difference here is that it's the use cases and ultimately the build out. That's the validation moment. And when you look at some of these deals, I think it's just laying the foundation for the fourth industrial revolution. But when you look at OpenAI, for every dollar they put in NVIDIA, in AMD, they're going to get $12, $15, $17 in revenue. And I think that's why I'm not concerned about it, because you're building really the foundation for enterprise and consumers over the coming decade. And that's why overall in tech, as it goes into the second, third, fourth derivative, across chips, software, autonomous, the grid, right? I mean, names like Akko, Vernova, and others, Nebusys, I think that speaks to our view. The ripple effect's going to be massive here in tech.
I may have said this to you. I said it the other day, and I can't remember if it was directly to you. Apple feels like the afterthought in all this again. I mean, the stock has had actually a really nice move. No one's really talking about it much, but it's on the precipice of a new closing high, right? Yeah. The first, in fact, since December of 2024. What happens from here and why?
I think it's going to be a massive outperformer, Apple. I mean, that's why we've stayed with it despite, obviously, them not being on the outside looking in when it comes to AI. It's for two reasons. One, it's that Google Gemini partnership. I think that's going to be the game changer for Apple. That's going to get them into the AI game. And that's very significant in terms of the biggest install base in the world. The two is that, look, numbers are going to move up. because look what's happened in China from all of our checks. We'll be in Asia next week. I mean, it's trending, what, 5–10% above expectations? That's not factored in. And it goes back to like the last few months, right? I mean, the street's been extremely bearish on it. You're starting to see a little more positive. I continue to think New York City cab drivers bearish on Apple. That's a good thing relative to what I think is a stock just starting this next phase of acceleration.